Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. I am hoping that this is recording. Waiting for, there we go. I am on the screen. Excellent. Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to another fantastic edition of Colley's Class. Today we are going to be talking about agates, most specifically Lake Superior agates. Now, I'm up in the wonderful Northwoods of Minnesota, as many of you who are probably watching this also are. Lake Superior agates are kind of common around here for us, and we're pretty lucky to have them. So this whole episode is all about what are agates, how they're made, where to find them, what are we looking for, and how to go out and collect your own. So hang out with me and I'll tell you all about them. Now, what in the world are agates to begin with? Well, did you know that there are over 20 different varieties of agates? Yep, over 20, and more are being discovered every year. The agates are actually named for being found in quite abundance in the Agates River in Sicily. The hardness scale is somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness. It's made of primarily silica, which is a quartz chalcedony type of mineral. And what's its rarity? Well, agates in general, it's not very rare. It's pretty common. Lake Superior agates, on the other hand, that's a little bit more rare. Agate formation. Let's go into that first. So how in the world are agates formed? Well, they're formed from a hole or a cavity or a vesicle in a rock. So you're going to get a rock that forms, and you're going to have holes, cavities, spaces for things to build up in there. This is my cat. He's being loud. A great example of this would be in freshly made basalt. Hey, buddy. Shout out to my cat Tripod, who's making noises. All right, so fresh basalt is a fantastic place for these cavities or bubbles or vesicles to form. It comes out of the ground, and it comes out forming with bubbling up with water and CO2, and most of the time those things are released when it's formed, and it leaves holes. Like, I keep using this as an example. This is not basalt, but it leaves holes or vesicles. Those are usually encapsulated. Then sometimes there's that liquid that's still remaining, and water that's containing silica and other minerals are still sloshing around inside there. And over thousands of years and hundreds of thousands of years, that water slowly seeps out or evaporates, leaving that mineral element behind that slowly crystallizes. And it hardens, crystallizes, and forms those layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. Hi, by the way, from to Zelda and Athena. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for joining us. Now, these are going to form fantastic agates, like this awesome agatized coral. But I want to move on just from agates to Lake Superior agates in a moment. We're not going to find anything this cool up here in Minnesota. This is going to be found down in Florida or around the world. But those layers upon layers upon layers upon layers that I just finished talking about are going to form some pretty fantastic layers like this in the rocks. Layer by layer they form, and the colors end up actually changing as the layers form. This is a pretty rare feat. Different colors mean different things. They could mean the different mineral content that was present. It could also be based on what the temperature was at the time when this rock was forming, how much pressure was on the rock, and how much time it took for the rock to form. So all of these things, while the agate is forming, all these things have to do with what color and how big and the patterns and the lines. That all determine what the rock's going to look like. But now, Lake Superior agates, they've got something else going for them. First of all, location, location, location. Take a look at this fancy, wonderful map that I did not draw. This is that nice shaded in area right over there. That is where Lake Superior agates are mainly found. Why? Well, hundreds of thousands of millions of years ago, we had a volcano in our area, and all of our Lake Superior agates came out of this lava flow. The lava flow, the basalt that hardened, had lots of vesicles in it, filled with cavities of water that was filled with mineral content, and that hardened over time, forming those agates. And then the glaciers showed up, and the glaciers pushed everything south. So you can actually find Lake Superior, even though this is Lake Superior right here, where most of our agates are found. You can find these agates all in this area, covering all of those states. So they're not just native to Minnesota, although we have certainly a lot of them. Now, why are Lake Superior agates such a big deal? Because of their color. They are a beautiful, beautiful red color. Red, rusty red, orangish in color. And these agates are only found in this specific area. And why is that? Our ground is filled with iron! You got it! Ferric iron is floating around in our groundwater. If you've ever had well water, iron is everywhere in this area. And that is actually what was in that water millions of years ago when that volcano erupted and formed our fantastic agates. The content, how rich it was, where it came from, how long it took to form, all determines the different colors and how deep or orangish or reddish or light or white all those layers on those agates are. I want to say a quick hello to Amy Hoyd and family and Lauren. Yay, you're here! We're talking about Lake Superior agates, and it's awesome. So now you kind of know about why we have them here and why they're not found anywhere else. And you kind of know about how they form. What are you going to do when you're here? You want to go looking for them, right? Everyone say, it's almost time to go look for agates. It is almost spring in Minnesota, and this is the perfect time to go off and look for agates. The snow is just coming out of the ground. It's melting. There's the frost going out of the ground. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a beautiful year for hunting agates, and now's the time to start. So, for those of you getting ready for spring break, here's some tips on how to look for agates. Looking for agates. What now? Dun dun dun. Well, first of all, use the map. That fantastic map that I just tossed can be found pretty much anywhere. If you are in Minnesota and you're going up on the North Shore, you have a fantastic chance to find some beautiful agates. So, location is number one. Make sure you know where you're going. There are some fantastic places to go as well if you're headed up on the North Shore, such as the Get Pickin' Agate site up in Cloquet. Also, there's a fantastic place called Moose Lake, which is like the agate capital of the world, or the Lake Superior agate capital of the world. And they have some pretty nifty places that you can go dig for agates in their gravel pits. Take a look. You're going to find lots. But also right on the beaches of Lake Superior. They're called Lake Superior agates for a reason. So use the map. Look in the right place. Second, when you go out looking, you're not necessarily going to see that gorgeous banding. It's not always going to be there. Sometimes you're just going to find a rock that kind of looks reddish, sort of. Yeah. You're not always going to see that stunning banding. And why is that? A lot of times that banding is on the inside of the rock. Those rocks, remember, formed in nodules, in vesicles. That banding happened on the inside, and that outside was just the outside of the rock. That banding might not be as clear. So don't let that deter you. Some of them you will find broken in half, and you'll see that banding, but they're out there, even if you're not picking them up with banding right on the outside. You'll definitely want to scan for that iron oxide reddish color. It's hard to see in this light. This is a nice kind of almost reddish brown color. That was a great one too. You got that, you can actually see it in the light here, that reddish brown color, kind of almost like the color in my shirt, but dark, almost blood red is what you're looking for. You're also going to look for pit marked rocks. Now, not pit marks like this. This is actually a fossil. Got some colony coral going on in here, but this is what pit marks would look like if you looked at them really, really close. I'll show you an example on this guy. You can see kind of these little pits and these little holes in there where it looks like just pit marks. That's about all I can explain them as. That is a sign of an agate. Because remember, those agates, they were in a vesicle, and when it formed, it didn't form smooth. It formed kind of rocky and had the little indents when it was forming. So other rocks, other minerals that were in there. So you're going to have those pit marks. That's a true sign of an agate. If you're going agate hunting in the sun, I sure hope so, because right now it's a little cold without that sun. The sun is going to help you out. If you don't have a sun, I'll start with the sun. That sun is going to actually help you find lots of rocks, because these agates, because of what they're made from, the silica, that chalcedony, they're going to shine in the light naturally without being polished. I know, right? How cool is that? It's kind of like the sun is your assistant in collecting cool rocks. It'll be like, look, that rock right there is shining in the sun. It's almost guaranteed to be an agate, unless it's not. Because it could also be Jasper, which will also shine in the sun. Minnesota also has this fantastic stuff called red jasper. So it'll look red, which is the color we're looking for. It'll shine in the sun, but it's jasper and not an agate. So you'll still need to do some extra searching. Or you might think, oh my goodness, I see it's shining in the sun. Well, it's not red. And although it's shining, it's white. It's more than likely a quartz or calcite or a chalcedony of some sort. So make sure you're looking for that color still. And if you can find bands or some pit marking, that will help. Now, say you don't have sunlight. Well, you've got some other tools up your sleeve. Bring a spray bottle of water with you. You can spray those rocks down. They will give you a shiny appearance, even without being polished, just by getting sprayed with water. They'll give you a shinier appearance because that chalcedony, that silica, makes them very smooth. They're not very porous rocks, so they will be much shinier and they will glisten when wet. They also have a sense of translucency to them. So this one's kind of tough to see, but you can actually almost see the light shining through the rock. See, if I move my hand behind it, it gets darker and lighter. There will be a translucency to those rocks. So this one, again, so will quartz. It'll have a little bit of translucency, so make sure you've got an agate and not a quartz, chalcedony, jasper, chert. There's a lot of fake agates out there that'll pretend they're agates and they'll want to go home with you. Just look for the agates. You're probably also thinking, Mrs. Colley, that would be me. There's probably thousands of different designs of agates out there. And you know what? You are totally right. There are. So we'll go through a couple. Some common types that I'm just going to show you here for a moment are on this fantastic screen here. You've got the fortification agates that for some reason my fantastic printer didn't print in color, but the fortification agates right up here have that full banding. It's the full banding. Water level agates right on this side look like they are horizontal lines. You have some eye agates right over here, which those are actually quite rare, but really quite stunning. And then the peeled, which are right down here, which makes it look like the layers were peeled back on that agate. So some examples of that. This, let's see if I have him correctly here. We've got a little bit of an eye agate going on here, a little bit of a half of an eye agate, but they're pretty perfect circles when you're looking for the eye agates. We've got if this one were whole, it would have been of the fortitude all the way around. That banding is just stunning. We've got a peeled agate somewhere. Here we go. Looks like some layers were peeled back. You can see the banding right in there. And sometimes you're going to find an agate that has the potting, little pot marks all over it. And it's red. And that's about it. Inside, this stone is probably a stunningly beautiful rock. I don't have a tile cutter to cut it open, but if I did, I'd probably have some very cool banding in there. So that is a whole bunch of different rocks you can go looking for. How to go and find some great Lake Superior agates, where to go. Take a look at the North Shore beaches. They've got some great tips out there too if you go looking. How to discern from a Lake Superior agate to a non-agate, and a little bit about how agates formed and some cool facts about them. I hope you have fun going on your agate searches. We will be headed off, hopefully within the next couple months, on an agate search of our own up in Cloquet. So I will give you a heads up on when that is and our update on what we find up there. Lake Superior agates typically are not very big. You're going to find them much smaller than your fist. Finding them bigger than your fist is very rare. And Lake Superior agates are quite expensive. They're a high commodity. People collect them from all over the world. And if you find something really nice, you could be in for a payday of a couple $100, depending on how large it is and how beautiful and how unique the designs are. So something else to take a look at if you want to go look for a rock collection and start selling them. Lake Superior agates might be the way to go. So from Mrs. Colley's class, I hope you have a fun time going out looking for Lake Superior agates. They're even very common in gravel beds. So any of you have gravel driveways or know of any great gravel roads out here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, start looking right there. You're going to find some awesome, awesome selections, especially now that the snow and ice are all gone. So from Mrs. Colley's class, I hope you had fun, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great night, everyone.